The Transform Your Mind radio hour is a journey through the mind, offering fresh approaches to old problems that plague the African American woman and youth. Host Myrna Young, life coach, and Arifa Youssef, social worker, discuss topics such as relationships, depression, the single life, how to supercharge your marriage, poverty mindset, and more. Tune in every Wednesday at 5 p.m. and transform your mind to transform your life.
Welcome to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio hour and podcast. I'm your host, Coach Myrna Young, and today in the co-host chair is Arifa Youssef Mortley, registered social worker, mental health counselor, and founder and program director of Lifted by Purpose. Hi, Arifa.
Hi, Myrna. How are you?
I am doing great. All right. Well, today we are going to be continuing our conversation on the single life. We spoke about that last week. And today we're going to take a different spin on it. We're going to talk about how to find your soulmate, specifically the energy of attraction. So it should be an interesting conversation. So don't go anywhere. Stay with us to the end. All right. So in our last episode, I looked at what single women need to do to get their house ready for love, where to look for love, and what to look for when they are starting out after a divorce or the death of a partner. And if you missed that episode, you can download it on iTunes, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also head over to my blog, which is blog.myhelps.us, to get a transcript of all my shows, including that one, as well as you can listen to the audio as well. All right, so before we go any further, I want to thank our sponsor. Our sponsor today is Columbus Financial Coach. Are you deep in the hole of financial depression with nowhere to turn for help, constantly being harassed by collection agencies? Then visit Columbus Financial and Success Coach at www.columbusfinancialcoach.com and get your peace back. All right, so let's continue on with our topic, how to find your soulmate, the energy of attraction. So we are going to look at the science of love, because everything, there's a science part of it, so what happens when two energies meet? Last week, again, we talked about how to meet a man in many of the watering holes, like a bar, a church, a gym, etc. And I shared how I met my husband on a train. So I'm going to use my personal story today to illustrate what happens when two strangers meet for the first time. As you may remember from chemistry class, every atom and molecule gives out and absorbs light. The human body is made up of about 50 trillion cells composed of atoms and molecules. So we are massive bundles of energy giving off and absorbing light and energy all the time. So when you meet somebody and your two energies come together, they become entangled. And when these two energies are in harmony, the result is called constructive energy, because your energy increases in size. When the two of you come together like a big old boom, right? Like, take for example, if you throw a rock into a pond, you're going to see the energy cascading out, and it's getting bigger. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the boom, right? And that is why you should grow when you are in the right relationship. And the scientists call this good vibes. So let's look at what happened when I met my husband and our energies became constructive, right? So I walked onto a train, and my husband was standing by the door because he was an officer on the train, and he was collecting tickets, and he just happened to be at the door as I was coming on the train. Now, of course, I looked fine. You know, I had on a mini skirt with dark glasses and the designer bag over my shoulder. I probably felt that I think I looked like a little movie star or something. So I caught his attention. And that's the first thing in any kind of attraction, what the eye sees, right? So I caught his attention. He caught my attention only because it's the first time I'd seen a black officer on the train. So, you know, I paid notice. And but unbeknownst to me, my second chakra, or my energy center in charge of communication, sent him a signal, because he tells me that when he first saw me, he felt this warm feeling in his body, and he had never felt that before. So, all right, let me put a pin here for a minute before I go any further. For those of you who are listening that doesn't understand what I'm talking about. Okay. Our bodies are made up of 7 energy centers called chakras. Each of these energy centers are responsible for certain functions. And I know, because I study this stuff, that my second chakra, located below my navel, is my communication center and is responsible for engaging a mate by sending out signals when it finds a compatible energy. I must have also received something from him. Now, I didn't get any warm feeling or anything, but my thoughts lingered on him. You know, way past, okay, there's a black officer in the train, but my thoughts lingered on him. I was curious, right? Again, curiosity. It leads us, right? It takes us past the initial. So that was all it was for me at the time, curiosity. But I've heard men say that the first time they saw their wives, they knew that she was the one. I've heard tons of stories like this. So, and I believe it. I believe there's such a thing as love at first sight. Have you guys ever heard Steve Harvey tell his story of when he met his wife? He was doing a stand-up comedy show, and she walked in late with her girlfriends. In a bunch of it, you know, in a room with, you know, I'm pretty sure hundreds, if not thousands of people. And he couldn't stop staring at her. In fact, he couldn't even continue with his act. He told her right then and there that she was going to be his wife, in front of everybody, of course, right? So I believe in compatible energy. It is real. Anyway, all right, back to my story. Because me and my husband's energy entangled and we both got good vibes, we looked to further the communication. Another pin. That's why we shouldn't chase men. If they got the good vibes, they will reach out, because we as humans are hardwired to mate. And it's happening without our conscious thought. Our energies and our bodies are doing it all, right? So my husband searched for me on the train every day until a few days later he found me. And I noticed him sit behind me for a few minutes while he got up the nerve to come and talk to me. We talked for about 30 minutes until I got off the train at my stop. And I will confess that I was not that impressed by the conversation. He cursed like a sailor. And I think that men who curse in front of women have no respect. But this is not a great thing. That when your compatible energies work, it doesn't even matter what they say. They can say a bunch of crap, and the energy is still working, and the attraction is still going forward, right? And when I got off the train, my energy body told me that I had made a connection. I had this incredible feeling of euphoria. Never felt it before. My stomach was doing somersaults. And I knew right then that we would have a relationship. So 3 months later, he proposed, and after about 11 months in the relationship, we were married, and that was 13 years ago. And, we're still in love. So compatible energies, it works. All right, so this is an example of the signs of 2 compatible energies, something we have no control over. That's why you've heard people say that they have no control over who they love. It's very true. It's some kind of, animalistic way that, we are connected to each other and fall in love, and, you really sometimes have no control over it. On the other hand, when your energy is not in sync with each other, we get bad vibes. The energy cancels each other's out, and instead of feeling euphoria or you feel depleted, right? And as single women, I believe it's the most important reading when you're looking for a mate. Energy, chemistry, that's another way they call it, right? And, when I was growing up, my grandmother always used to talk about, people that are anchors to each other, which meaning that you don't grow when you're in a relationship with them. They anchor you. You don't thrive. You just survive, right? So pay attention to your relationships, whether it's expanding or you're contracting or you're stuck. All right. So here's one more story before I bring Arifa on. To illustrate the point of negative energy, right? I read this in a book, and it says that Rhonda, that's the girl's name, met this guy in a bar. Now, I like how she describes him. She said he was gorgeous and absolutely delicious. All right, so I'm hoping you're getting a nice mental picture from that, right? Delicious. He pursued her and seduced her, and they had a great time together, but something didn't click. God didn't give us intuition for nothing. Our intuition warns us, right? And the reason that she didn't feel him is because he was always kind of sort of vague on his explanation with everything. You can tell a player, you can tell a liar, right? They can't ever give you anything straight. So it took Rhonda about 3 months before she discovered that he was still living with his daughter's mother. That's how he called it. And another 6 months to understand that theirs was an on and off relationship. Like, I guess when he wants a booty call or something, he calls her, and when, whatever, on and off relationship. And he would never, under any circumstances, spend the night. He told her that he didn't want his daughter to wake up and he was not there. As soon as I read this, I had this mental flashback of Whitney Houston with that married relationship with that guy where he was telling her all this crap about his daughter, right? And it ended up being just bull, right? So this is when Rhonda, just like Whitney Houston, realized that a married man is a married man. They can string you along forever, and they can tell you anything. So she decided to break up. The breakup was mutual, but she wasted at least 2 years in a relationship that was going nowhere, when if she had paid attention to her energy, she could have saved herself some heartache. So I'm going to say it again. Energy is the most important data in the dating world. So before we talk about psychopathic relationships, let me bring Arifa in the conversation. Arifa, so tell us how you met your husband, and what is your take on energy and finding a partner?
Well, I met my husband because we were both involved in entertainment industry, and he reached out to me to inquire and ask me a question, and from there we just had a conversation. And the conversation ended up to telling some jokes, just talking about life and sharing some common experiences, working in the field of entertainment. And then he asked me if I wanted to go, meet up. So I ended up meeting up with him. I met him. He picked me up from my house. I remember going to the movies. He went to the movies. Actually, no. First we went to get something to eat. He left his phone by accident where we got some food, so we had to actually head back, pick up his phone. Wow. Missed our movie. I wanted to see a geisha movie. I'm sure he was really happy about that because I know he didn't really want to see it. It was Memoirs of Geisha, so we ended up seeing King Kong, which he was obviously a little more happy about. And then
yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, we ended up seeing King Kong, and I ended up really liking it. And it was just like this energy. There was an energy between the both of us, where we just liked spending time with each other, and we didn't want to. We ended up spending like the evening together, and then I remember he came and picked me up again in the morning. We ended up having breakfast, and then that whole week we just kept seeing each other. Yeah, we saw each other. Yes, Myrna, you're getting the inside scoop
what
here.
I'm talking about? That's
Yeah,
awesome.
we ended up seeing each other. He drove me to work. Yeah, it was a big deal for me. He drove me to work, and then he would pick me up. This is all happening in the same week. He'd pick me up. We'd hang out.
Oh, wow.
We'd watch movies. We'd just have breakfast again, chill. And, yeah, we just ended up just being inseparable. We ended up just always wanting to spend time with each other, and we just felt really connected. So there was obviously like a lot of chemistry there. Yeah, it was like, oh, we don't want to text each other. We just want to see each other.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. The compatible energies make you want to be with the person, and you get the good vibes. We're talking about good vibes. In a minute, we're going to talk about all the other stuff that goes on when you meet, which is when I talk about serotonin, you're going to understand what happened with the two of you, that you wanted to see each other all the time and things like that. But so that's amazing. But one of the things that I know, without even hearing that story, because it's the first time I've heard it, but one of the first things I know about you and your husband's relationship, who has something to do with my son, is that you definitely increased him. And that's why, we love you. You increased him. And that to me is the signal that you're in compatible energies, because you grow, and you've grown a lot too in your relationship. He's grown, you've grown, and so to me that is how, if you're gonna do a review, like when you go to work, you get an annual review. If you're gonna do a review in your relationship, you've got to see how the two of you together have grown and improved. And if you're going backwards, then you've got to check that energy. It doesn't mean that the relationship is bad, but you got to fix the energy. Now, I don't know how to fix the energy, but I'm pretty sure that there's a way that you can do that. All right. So I'm glad. I just wanted to bring you in for that, but I wanted you to talk specifically on my next thing that I'm going to transition into, right? And I'm going to transition into the psychopathic relationship. If any one of my listeners have ever been into a psychopathic relationship, they know what I'm talking about. Because the psychopath is masters at reading energy, right? If you know that we are all broadcasting at a frequency, our most innermost spots. So if you're scared, if you are nervous, if you are insecure, there's certain people that can read your energy, right? And that is how a predator picks out his prey. A predator doesn't go for the strongest person. He goes for the weakest person. He goes for the girl that is insecure or maybe has problems with her dad or at home or something like that. And that's what he pounces on. And that's how a mugger chooses his victims, When they're looking for someone to mug, they're not looking for the ones that's going to hold on to that person, never let it go. They're looking for somebody that's just going to give it up immediately, right? Same way as the lion, the animal kingdom. The lion picks his prey. He reads the vibration of the weakest one in the flock, and that's the one he goes after, right? And I want to touch on this because we're airing Atlanta, and everybody in Atlanta heard about the R. Kelly crimes against teenage girls. And how do you believe he picked his victims? Exactly that. I mean, even before, one of the girls that was interviewed said something so potent that is, I'm hoping that nobody missed that, because we're all talking that R. Kelly likes young girls and he goes after the teenagers and that's what he likes. But we were all surprised that there's a couple of 30-something-year-old women that was involved in this whole fiasco. And one of the girls, and I can't believe her honesty, but you know what she said? She says that R. Kelly looks for the weak-minded. And if you're a teenager or you're 30 or you're 40, if you're weak-minded, then that's who he's going to go after. And think about it. These women allowed him to disrespect their bodies and lock them in a room, and they had to ask to go to the bathroom. They had to ask to eat. The same 30-something-year-old girl said she had to knock on the door for hours and hours before she can go to the bathroom because he just ignored her and she wouldn't leave. And they weren't being restrained. It was all a mental thing. He didn't physically lock the door. He just told them that, hey, you know what? I'm your daddy, and you to ask me to go to the bathroom and when you want to eat. And that's basically all he said. And they agreed, and they just sat there and waited for him to come to them. So that is the psychopathic relationship, the person that's preying on you, and they're doing that because of your vibration. So once we're looking at the vibration of how you can pick out your soulmate, but it's also pick out the predators, someone that wants to use you and throw you away like you're yesterday's rag. So this is a perfect time for Aretha to come in and talk about, this negative aspect of, hooking up with the wrong vibration. So what's your take on this, Aretha?
Well, it's really interesting you use the case of R. Kelly, because I think a lot of people were thrown off around how can he put women in a space or mind where he had so much control over them. And I always say, right. Manipulation is a really powerful thing. And when you're someone who's not strong in yourself, it's really easy for people to take advantage of you and to, construe the way that you think about yourself. And sometimes a lot of these women already had some views about themselves to begin with, in terms of having low self-esteem, a lot of errors of thinking, like no one would want them or love them, or somebody, someone in a professional, career, might not have an interest in them. So when they saw R. Kelly, it's like, wow, this person is drawn to me. And what about me is drawing them? Instead of thinking maybe you're drawn to him because of the fact that they themselves are giving off the energy that they're not confident in who they are, right? So it's really mindful to build up yourself, because when you don't build up yourself, people, especially psychopaths, they actually feed off of energy, right? So they're feeding off of the fact that you are going to allow them to do certain things, even if you think that's not what you're doing. They themselves feel like it is, and that's how they manipulate you into keeping you on board with their plans or their ideas, or making you feel guilty and drawing you back in, right? So I remember reading, there's an expert, expert on psychopathic behavior. His name's Robert Here, and he gave some tips around being mindful and being associated with predatory psychopaths. And some of the tips that he gave was, for one, to be careful of props. So that would be the winning smile, the promises, the sweet talkers, the people that want to offer you all these gifts, because it's meant to deflect you away from their manipulation and exploitation that might be occurring. And we saw that with R. Kelly and with others, right? And any of these characteristics can give enormous sleight of hand value, serving to distract you from their real intentions, right? So they basically, when they talk about the honeymoon stage, they're showing you the best of themselves, right? But in reality, there might be something they're hiding that you just have. If everything's too perfect, it's like, I wonder what else is going on. But when you're someone and you're wrapped up in it, you're not seeing that there may potentially be some harm there. Number two, he said, anyone who seems too perfect is, so psychopaths hide their dark sides until they get their target deeply, involved. So too much flattery, a lot of kindness, cracks in their grandiose stories. So they tell you all these outlandish stories, and that provides clues that, hey, they should put you on guard. So make some inquiries, make some reasonable inquiries. When you're talking about R. Kelly as an example, he promised, I remember there was a young girl, and he promised, I think she was 17, and he made all these promises to her, like, I'm going to get you, signed, and you're going to make lots of money, I'm going to have you performing in front of people. Yeah, he took her all around with him, right? And she just got stuck. stuck in that situation. And then the third tip that Robert Hare gives is to know yourself. So you might be vulnerable from your blind spots. Predators know how to find you, and they use your triggers against you. So the more you realize what you tend to fall for, the more closely you can guard against it. And I think that's really important because, again, it goes back to knowing yourself. If you know that, you have an eye for individuals that, like to tell you sweet nothings, and you see, you keep falling into that, and then, like girls, flattery is a big, everybody likes to be told they're pretty. Let's be honest, even if you don't believe it yourself, you love to be told by others that you're beautiful. You have, nice, beautiful, long legs. Even when you know your legs ain't that long, you're still like, oh, it makes you think maybe they are long. This person thinks that my legs are long. And when when you hear women talking about how these men, coerced them and treated them, you hear that, oh, this person took me out. This person was buying me things. This person made me feel special. I never felt loved like this before. This person told me they're always going to be there for me. They would never hurt me, right? And so especially when you're coming from broken homes and stuff, you see this. A perfect example is when you look at pimps, right? And how they lure their victims.
Yeah.
They find somebody, they're sitting alone, sitting alone in McDonald's
thank goodness
eating.
They're a dying breed. I don't think there's too many of them anymore. But
there's still a lot.
They
had
a career
right?
going on.
There's still a lot.
Oh.
But, when you look around, you see, and they're, they see somebody sitting by themselves, and what do? They go up, hey, you look hungry. Is it okay if I buy you something to eat? Right? And then you're thinking, oh, okay, that's a nice gesture. Oh, you know what? Like, you can get anything that you want, right? I think I'll take that Big Mac with the fries and the extra, maybe take that and make it a poutine combo.
Yeah.
You go all the way out and they pay for it. And they say, hey, you know what? Here's my number. Anytime, you need someone to talk to, it's up to you, but I'll be there.
Yeah.
So you could see how it slowly it starts to trickle in.
Yeah.
And then, you get to a point where you're just feeling so invested into this person and into this relationship and so cared for that you do not want to see. Even though you feel it, sometimes you feel it in your gut, something's wrong. You want to believe the best in that person. And so I really believe in a lot of the tips that Robert Hare gave, because if we do take, especially as women, we want to see, and I think people in general want to see the best in people. Robert Hare, so Robert, R-O-B-E-R-T, and last name H-A-R-E. Yeah, he's an expert on psychopathic behavior.
Yeah, I'll put a link. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's important. He gives great tips.
For him. Right. Mm-hmm.
Great tips.
Yep. Okay, that's awesome. All right. Well, that was very detailed, and I learned a lot from that. And we're talking about finding your soulmate and looking for compatible energies. But anything that you do in this world, there is always an opposite. So in order to know the good, they're saying you also have to know the bad. If there was no bad, you would never know when you have good. So we had to touch on the opposite. We don't want to focus on it because this is a feel-good kind of
trying to find our soulmate here,
where we were telling you how to.
Not the opposite. Not the opposite.
We're trying to. Yeah, we don't want to be food for the fodder and be caught in some kind of psychopathic trap. You know what I mean? But we've got to tell you that when it feels bad, run. Don't try to make it good. Like Arifa just made a perfect analogy. Really, where, just like the girl Rhonda that I just talked about, she know that something wasn't right. But, sometimes you don't want to be alone. I like what Arifa said just now, but somebody said, if you never need anything to talk. I think that every man can run with that. Because women always want someone to talk to. You know what I mean? So when somebody tells you that, oh my God, that would be their number one thing. So that is a way for them to, to get you in the emotional bondage. And we're going to cover, some of that in the second segment of this broadcast. So, all right. So we started off, we looked at the positive energies, we looked at the negative energies. So we're going to take our first break. And when we come back, we're going to look at the second stage. After you meet someone and you have these compatible energies and you start to fall in love, what exactly happens? So don't go anywhere. We are going to be right back. Are you in a deep hole of financial depression with nowhere to turn to for help? Constantly being harassed by collection agencies? Then Columbus Financial is here to help. Get the financial freedom that you deserve. Visit Columbus Financial and Success Coach today for help on financial planning, money management, debt management, credit repair, credit consulting, financial life coaching, and success coaching. Let one of our financial experts help you today. Get your financial and personal life back in perfect alignment. Visit our website at www.columbusfinancialcoach.com. Once again, that is www.columbusfinancialcoach.com. And dig yourself out of financial depression. Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio hour and podcast. I am your host, Coach Myrna Young, and sitting in the co-host chair today is Miss Arifa Youssef Mortley, social worker and mental health counselor. In our first segment, we talked about the energy that it will take for you to match with your soulmate. We looked at the good and we looked at the bad. We looked at what happens when it is constructive energy, and we looked at what happens when it is negative energy, and instead of increasing you, makes you smaller and constricted. Now, after you, let's say, because we want to keep this positive, let's say that you make this bang. You meet someone, you have compatible energies, and now you're on your way to falling in love. Now, what exactly happens? So we're going to look now at the second stage of the dating game, chemistry. All right. So I'm sure you've heard this word thrown around a lot of the times. For example, I remember when I was single for a minute that I went on to eharmony.com, and they have something where they match you up with 29 different areas. That's how they match people. But what they can't do is they can't match chemistry. So you can be a match for someone in every single thing. You like walking on the beach. You like holding hands. You like curling up with a good book. You know, you want 3.5 children. I'm joking. But of course, then when you meet this person, nothing. No chemistry, no flash, no nothing. So this is what happens when we say that there's chemistry, right? And you start to fall in love. So I'm going to take you back to the story of my husband for a minute. Don't mean to be talking about that a lot, but it's always good to give personal examples. You know, that's how people relate. So I shared with you in the first segment about meeting my husband and how there was this compatible energy, and I had this feeling of euphoria, and my heart palpitated and my stomach jumped up and down and all that kind of stuff. But if we didn't have chemistry, we would have just become good friends. Because in order to get to the sexual stage, you need to have chemistry. So this is what happens when you get to the second stage, chemistry. These are the chemicals that are released by love, and it's responsible for that overwhelming feeling that you get. The first one is dopamine. Dopamine lights up your pleasure center. Your pleasure goes up when you are near and when you think about this person. Your motivation goes up as well, because now you are thinking of this nice house with 2 kids and, all the things that you're going to do with this new man of yours, right? Your sadness goes way down. If you were depressed before, you are now happy. I'm sure you've heard the saying that love is blind. Well, it's true. Dopamine makes you more attractive to your mate. And since we are on this planet to procreate, your sexuality goes up. I'm sure you've heard or have had personal data that new lovers do it all the time like rabbits. True. Sexuality goes up. All right. So now, the second chemical that's released in love is I'm almost wanting to say oxycodone, but no, it's why am I having a hard time saying this word? Oxytocin, that's it. Spit it out, Myrna. All right, well, oxytocin is responsible for trust. When you're in love, your level of trust goes up. So does your attachment, right? Which is probably why your girlfriends can't figure out why you are going out with this player, but you don't see it until he crushes your heart. Sorry to be so melodramatic, but this is the hormone that the psychopaths use to their advantage. They lead you on because you are trusting them to the end of the world, right? Okay, and finally, serotonin is released. This hormone is responsible for all the pain that's attached to love. Your serotonin goes up and you become obsessed with your lover. Love is really a chemical addiction. Thank God I've only had one experience with an overabundance of this hormone. All the other times it's just there, but not to this extreme. I will tell you that, the time that I had this instance with an overabundance of this hormone is, I met this guy, and I met him at a club, and it was an instant attraction. Like, I fell hard. I swooned the next day when he called me baby. So you can tell how infatuated I was. Now less than 2 months after we met, we made plans to spend New Year in Jamaica because he was Jamaican and I love Jamaica. So he left before Christmas, but I wouldn't leave my kids for Christmas. So I made plans to meet him in Jamaica after Christmas. And boy, I can tell you, that was the longest week in my entire life. I've never actually gotten this bad since then. I guess I got it all out of my system. But I can remember sitting in my living room and just in pain and looking at that clock and seeing it tick slowly by for that entire week. Yep. I was an addict. All right. So I carried on and on and on about me and, these hormones and stuff like that. So let's bring Arifa into the conversation so that she can talk to us from a social worker perspective, how we lose our minds when we're in love and all these hormones are playing around.
Well, wow, Myrna, I'm glad you spoke about hormones. I always talk to my clients about increasing, I know, like hormones, but I always talk to my clients about increasing their oxytocin. So like through touch, like such as like you were talking about, like the hug. There's a study around if you hug someone for 20 seconds, you feel like a connection to them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I've done it, and it feels great.
Okay.
And like holding hands and kissing.
I love hugs.
Yeah. You know, some people say they're not huggers, but when they really feel a good hug, you know, it's just like a genuine good hug. You do feel a connection with that person. You know, you feel warm, you know, you may cry, you know, or you might smile, or you just might feel calm. But either way, it releases oxytocin. And everyone has a sensitive area on their body that causes arousal when touched, right? So I know when I was in school, I learned a lot about your erogenous zones.
There's lots of those.
Oh, yeah, the erogenous zones. And, you know, when you have chemistry with somebody.
Tons of them, right, okay.
Yeah, when you have chemistry with somebody, obviously when they touch you, or even if they whisper in your ear or any of that thing, and, you know, you feel like, you know, all these like chemicals are being released in your body, and, you know, I could go deeper on that, but, you know, I'm trying to keep this PG. But all of that great stuff happens. And just like all these wonderful things happen, you know, like sometimes you feel like this breeze, cold breeze that comes across your arm, you know, it's like the hairs are rushing on your arms. And that's all because of the chemistry between you and this person. But it's important in a relationship to know what your partner likes too and doesn't like, and, you know, give each other compliments, share tips on how to increase the synergy between each other, and also just reminiscing on moments. Like I know sometimes me and my husband will talk about, oh, do you remember that time, you know, when we went out to eat and this happened, or you remember the first time you bought me a bag when we went shopping. And it's like those moments, it's like you feel the connection. Yeah, I'm sorry, but your son used to buy me a lot of bags, and he's like, and they were beautiful.
Okay.
I need to talk to him about that. I haven't got a bag in a while.
He was a bag person. You know, it's funny. I know. My husband bought me all kinds of bags, too, because he's a shopper. He would go and get the Coach bags because he's, you know, and, yeah, I had a lot of bags. You're right. I haven't had one in a while, too, because I told him to stop. There's no reason I can do it.
Yeah, I don't know why
I have a bag fetish. Some people have a book. Why. Some people have a shoe fetish. I have a bag fetish. I'm not that much into shoes, but I love bags. And yeah, my husband used to buy me a whole bunch of bags, so I told him to stop. But so you don't know why you're stopped? You didn't tell him to stop?
You know what it was? I would get a lot of bags. And then I felt like I wasn't using all of them all the time. Like, you know, you have like six, say you have 6 bags, you're like, oh my goodness, like it's great. But I was just like, I don't get to use this one as often as I'd want to. So it's kind of like slow it down a bit. And then like let me use the bags that I have. And now I don't have bags. I don't have any more bags, like new bags. So it's like maybe I should go back to that. And now I'm good. I tried them all out. I need some new bags.
I have a lot of bags. My husband don't buy them for me no more, but I buy them for myself.
Yeah, I do, but it'd be nice to be surprised. I have a bag
fetish.
He has good taste.
I know.
He finds bags I didn't know existed. So maybe he needs to talk to him about that again.
Cute.
But yeah, like I was saying,
I'm learning stuff about my son.
Yeah, like so for me, I think it's important is to have those moments. As I was saying, when you can reminisce on, you know, times like, you know, the first time you met, and, you know, remember like the first time you guys went to dinner or an anniversary, just because that, like I said, increases the synergy. And in general, the most salient characteristics for chemistry between two people are mutual interest, you know, like reciprocal candor, personableness, intimacy, you know, similarities, and as you mentioned earlier, like just physical attraction. So I think as long as people have a reminder of, hey, you know what, like what are the things that had me connected to this person, even when you're feeling like you're being disconnected, you can just bring up some of the stuff, remind yourself, you know, maybe like, you know, throw on an outfit you wore when you first met, if it still fits, right? I always got to say that. if it still fits, or something similar to it, or a perfume, perfume that you wore, just to see if you could jog their memory around stuff, and just to kind of just create that chemistry again. If you feel that it's slipping, there's so many ways where you can bring it back, and so it's just to be mindful of that. But yeah, that's my tips.
I had about a 6-part series with, my best friend, and she's an intimacy coach, and she's always trying to get me to dress up. I'm not into that, but, she's into the dressing up stuff, dressing up, and, she even bought me some shoes one time. I've actually never worn them. She bought me these high heel silver shoes that she tells me that I should put on an outfit and wear these things. So, but anyway, I believe in keeping the chemistry, in different ways, but not necessarily, putting on costumes and dressing up and stuff like that. But that's one way to do it. She's an intimacy coach, and she feels that, playing roles is important. Yeah, but
I have a friend that
everybody's
does that.
got their,
Yeah, you're jogging my memory. Your son will probably be like, "Why are you telling my mom this?" But I remember we used to, my friend used to work as like a sex store, and I remember she used to be like, "Oh, there's so many things here," and I used to go visit her, and we used to have these playing cards, and they're just like fun, And I remember I used to bring them home. I was like, hey, like the card says to do this, or the card says I'm supposed to do this for 5 seconds. And it was just fun. Like half the stuff we would laugh at, like, no. Well, some of the stuff would be like, we'd be like, oh, what does it hurt to try? Yep. And you bond, whether you're laughing at half the stuff or whether you're trying it. Either way, it's like an experience in a moment where you're bonding and you're trying something new, And so I encourage people to take some risks, take some chances. Like whether you laugh about it or you realize, I'll never do this again, it's still something that you and your partner have together, like you and your partner have together to say, hey, like, remember that time we did this? And I think that's important as well, too.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, she does it when she does her, because she does coaching for couples. And she does that because she feels that every man has got some kind of fantasy. And, the wife can act it out if he would tell her. So those card things, because she does that too, those card things are meant to say, well, hey, you know what? Do you want me to be a blonde today, or do you want me to do something to you, or, something that you would never tell me normally that you want me to do, stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, so we've transcended into how to keep the chemistry going, but we're still talking about the woman that doesn't have a man and she wants to find a soulmate. So let's go through our process again. So you meet someone, you're getting goosebumps, your body is responding in a certain way, and it's not an intellectual choice, because, again, a woman can pick a mate by ticking off some things on a list, you know what I mean? And it doesn't excite her at all, but, maybe he's got a car and he's got a job and, maybe he's got good credit and whatever. Maybe he looks good too. Whatever, you've got on your list, and then you check it off a list. But we're not talking here about the intellectual thing. We'll get to that later on, but right now we're just talking about how to understand what the universe is selecting for you by the chemistry that you have no control of. It's universal. It's your basic instincts or whatever, your animalistic body, and you're connected to this person, and you use the chemistry to make this person more attractive looking, and then your trust level goes up, and then you want to be with this person all the time, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing when you're in that space. And then afterwards, then you gotta find out about, does he have a job?
Real life stuff.
And you get into the
the real life stuff.
You get
the glasses removed.
Exactly. Then you get it. Then you get into the real life stuff after you've like swooned for like a month, you know what I mean? And then you say, hey, do you work?
I like how you said, do you
buy
have
me a
good
dinner?
credit? That was a good one.
Well, yeah, stuff like that. See, you get into that. But all right, so we're having fun with this. So I hope you guys are learning something or making fun with it, but you're understanding the process, and I hope I'm giving you hope, because there's somebody for everyone, and you just have to get your mind right, and they will come. So let's take our second break, and then we come back. We're going to answer some questions before we wrap up our show today, and our questions are going to be coming from single women that wanted to ask, some questions from my Facebook group, the Life Coach group. So don't go anywhere, because maybe one of these questions might pertain to something that you want to know. So we'll be right back. Are you in a deep hole of financial depression with nowhere to turn to for help? Constantly being harassed by collection agencies? Then Columbus Financial is here to help. Get the financial freedom that you deserve. Visit Columbus Financial and Success Coach today for help on financial planning, money management, debt management, credit repair, credit consulting, financial life coaching, and success coaching. Let one of our financial experts help you today. Get your financial and personal life back in perfect alignment. Visit our website at www.columbusfinancialcoach.com. Once again, that is www.columbusfinancialcoach.com, and dig yourself out of financial depression. Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio hour and podcast. I'm your host, Coach Myrna Young, and in the co-host chair is registered social worker and mental health counselor, Ms. Arifa Yusuf Mortley. And we are talking today on the topic, the energy of attraction, and also the chemistry of attraction, and specifically how to find your soulmate using those two, using that inference. So before we wrap up, I want to answer some questions that was posed to my life coaching group on Facebook. Remember, you all have an open invitation to join this group, and you can post questions on any of your struggles in life, and not only I will answer them, but the group normally answers it. We have some good discussions on there. So the first question is from Vilna, and she says, most men in my age group, 60, want a traditional woman to cook and clean and a man to think for her. I'm not a traditional woman, and I'm tired of pretending to be helpless. How do we as women maneuver in the world of the insecure man? So the answer that I gave her on the life coaching group, I'm going to share with you. And basically what I told her is that, I would always remember that I went to a presentation once where this girl, an author, wrote a book, and she had a presentation, and I remembered it. And basically what she said is that in a relationship, if a relationship is to work, then you can't be just cake and you can't be just ice cream. You have to switch roles. Sometimes you're cake, sometimes you're ice cream, and you switch it around. So my advice is that, when you need to be soft and, play that you are helpless, you can do that. That means that you're ice cream. And then when you need to be a strong, woman, and you be the cake. And the good thing about it is that the man as well can be cake and ice cream as well. You just switch roles. So that's my answer for that. You gotta be flexible. And we're just talking about role playing. Role play for a little bit and see how that works. Arifa, you got anything different on that?
Oh, wow. With that one, I would say, yeah, I know it's one of those questions. I'm a real independent person, so I'm in a world where I'm surrounded, by men, and they, sometimes they're, they want to talk to you a certain way, so I can relate or empathize with what Vilma's saying. Mm-hmm. And for me, what I do is I keep doing what I love. I make myself a priority to level up. And I literally tell them, this is the way that I, would like to be treated. I'm responsive to your feelings. And, I understand that, you're working towards leveling up as well. But at the same time, I think it's great not to steer yourself. Yeah, straight up. I don't steer myself away from what I want to do in terms of to guide myself up to the top. And women, I think our whole lives, there's that glass ceiling where we've always been looking up and been told, it stops here for us. We get less money. We have some of us have been told we have to do certain things to get ahead. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's our time, especially with the Me Too movement, to kind of set a standard and let, men know that, yes, you know what, we're here. We want to make our lives a priority. We want to level up. We want to take positions. And for them to be understanding of that. They had their time to shine, and I feel like it's now our time to shine and to create some kind of balance in the world instead of it being so imbalanced. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Me too.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Most times when you catch me with that ice cream is me shutting my mouth. That's the ice cream for me, is knowing what to fight and when to be you know what, I'm gonna let that one ride today. I'm gonna keep my mouth quiet and let it melt away. Sometimes you do have to do that, right?
Well, maybe.
But sometimes I'm just no, it's cake all day.
Right. Cake all day. Well, now that you'll be maybe more ice cream a little more. And that's for me too, because I'm a very strong woman as well. A lot of us are. But, you got to know when to be ice cream. All right. So our next question comes from Elizabeth. And she says, when you're in your 50s, obviously we have, a lot of women past 40 that are looking for that mate. That's the time when, you know what? You need to have someone in your life. So she says, when you're in your 50s and have to start over dating, do you date to find a husband, or should you be okay with someone to keep you warm at night? So my answer to this question was definitely someone to keep you warm at night, because statistics shows, and I don't like giving negative things because anything can happen. I got married at 46, right? So anything can happen, but I heard a long time ago, and I think it's even worse now because, a lot of the men out there are, liking other men. So, and then we have this huge population in prison. So it's even worse now for the women, is that there's not a lot of men out there. But the statistics before even all this stuff was happening is that a woman in her 40s has a very slim chance of getting married. So definitely, if it happens, it happens, but you should be looking at companionship, someone to do things with, and, definitely someone to keep you warm at night if that's what you want, and you let the marriage thing fall into place if it happens. But you certainly don't go around looking for, I'm only going to date someone that I want to marry. He's got to be marriage material. So I will definitely stay away from that. So what's your answer, Rifa?
Oh, it's interesting because I'm all about self-determination. So I think this question really boils down to, Elizabeth, what are you really looking for? Because it's based on, what you're looking for in the present. Dating can work. You can have somebody keep you warm at night. I believe in companionship as well. Even if it's someone to play cards with, to go for a walk with, just to hang out with, and you never know, that may lead
Travel.
to you falling in love. Yeah, definitely travel for sure. But that may lead to you, finding that chemistry between each other. And, maybe you decide like you do want to get married later on. But in the moment, I think, you should be focused on just looking for someone to be a companion, just to share some interests with, that you have a little bit of chemistry with, and just kind of see where that goes. So, yeah. Someone, I guess, to keep you warm at night and just to hang out with. And if you feel like you want something different, it's so interesting because I was just going to go I wasn't even going to go that way. And then when I really thought about it, I was like, someone to keep you warm at night and just to hang out with and companionship. And if it goes the way you want it to go, then if you guys decide to get married, you get married. That's a good question, though, Elizabeth.
You want somebody to do things with. It's the number one reason that we want to be in a relationship with somebody to share something with, someone to do something with, and it's not even about the sex part. It's just companionship. It's very, very valuable, right? And if you connect in all those ways, if you have, the compatible chemistry, and you have all those, hormones things going and all that kind of stuff, then it can make it really nice. And then when it's really nice, then what happens? People want to make it permanent, and that's basically how it works. Whether you're 20 or you're 50, it should go through the same process. You become friends. You have common interests, and then it goes to the next level. All right. Well, I think we're almost out of time, or fresh out of time. So I want to thank you for being with us until the end. I'm really enjoying my conversations with Arifa. I think that we are, we've stepped up the level of our conversations as far as how it helps our listeners. So I'm loving it. If you're loving it, then please show your support by posting a review on iTunes and subscribing to the podcast. You can subscribe on iTunes or any of the other 12 podcast players, whichever one that you get your podcast from. Now, if you want to hear some topics, remember you can email me at info@myhelps.us. You can contact Arifa at liftedbypurpose.com. Arifa is spelled ARIFAH. Arifa's office is located at 180 Shaw Street, Suite 201 in Toronto. And if you want to call her because you need some therapy for yourself or your child or your youth, I should say, her phone number is 416-391-5270. You head over to my blog. You don't have to remember all that. There'll be a link to her website. All right. Now, the questions that I read today was from my Facebook group, The Life Coach. I would love for you guys to join in and have the conversation. We're trying to help you to live your best lives now. That's basically what this is all about. And a lot of times, the only way you can do that is that you've got to transform your mind, transform your thinking, transform your beliefs. And if something has not been working for you in the past, then you need to shift it and change it so that you can have a better future. Any last words, Arifa?
No, this is a great conversation and really important. And, I really hope that a lot of women really, look at, their lives and, what they want for themselves, and really look at what they're looking for in a person. But don't go there hunting for people. As you talked about earlier, let people, come to you and connect with that synergy and that chemistry. and hopefully it works out. And if it doesn't, learn from it and grow.
Beautiful. Nice way to wrap up. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you for tuning in again. Until next time, namaste.